So the Mesolithic period dates from about 10,000 years ago down to about 6,000 years ago. This is a period of climate change, of increasing warming and seasonality, which led to a greater range of available natural resources, as a result of which we get new technologies and people living in different settlement patterns. So we've got still stone tools, but we've got new types of stone tools appearing. And generally we think this means that hunting techniques are starting to change. One of the best examples we've got of this is on Exmoor, where we have a huge amount of flint working. I think you'll see some material of this later. And we also have small amounts of land clearance taking place. This is one of the earliest examples of that we've got in the county. And really it's the change in hunting techniques from absolute survival to starting to manage the landscape so that you can exist in it better.
We're back with a range of material from sites in Somerset. This time they're from the Mesolithic or the Middle Stone Age. And we're starting back in Gough's Cave where we left off in the Paleolithic. But this time the material, although it's also made of flint, is really very different. And what we've got are these absolutely tiny, and these are quite large ones, tiny lithic blades, and they're known as microliths, really small pieces of stone. So that's some quite fun terminology for your learners there. And what is so devastating about these is that they would have set multiple small blades into and around either the tips of arrows or creating kind of clubs and other weapons for hunting and possibly for warfare as well. And when there's lots and lots of tiny cutting surfaces, they create a huge amount of damage to the muscle tissue on their way in. And an animal that's been hit with a microlith arrowhead is not going to be too difficult to track down afterwards when you're hungry. Also from these Mesolithic layers at Gough's Cave came the remains of Cheddar Man, which is the oldest complete human skeleton found in Britain. And Cheddar Man would have certainly been using tools using microliths like these ones. But it's not all caves. If we move on to other sites in Somerset, there's an absolutely wonderful site called Hawkham Head, which is near Porlock. And all of this material, which is on this side of the foam, comes from there. And this is an absolutely tiny proportion of the material from that site. It's fairly recently excavated, and there's well over 1,000 lithic artefacts that have come from here. And what I've done is divided these into different groups. So what we've got are cores, and these are what people were using to make their smaller tools from. So this is what you start with, and these are sort of discarded chunks of stone cores that have just been left behind. And when you are demolishing your core in order to make your lovely little microlith, you make an awful lot of mess. So here's a whole selection of debitage, which is our word for the mess that's left behind when somebody is flint knapping. And it is incredible how much debitage can be made in a very short period of time by somebody who knows what they're doing as a napper. So a vast amount there. And these are kind of the final product. So we've got absolutely tiny, that's a really nice small example of a microlith. And Hawkham Head is a really interesting site because it's not just about hunting. There's access to the shoreline where people are fishing. So we can think about people making fish hooks and using other tools in order to exploit all the available natural resources.